What are responsibility centers, and how does that relate to the concept of decentralization? Well, to start with, responsibility centers are basically independently functioning units within the organization that are nearly wholly accountable in themselves for a certain level of output or production. Generally, they have specified goals that they seek to achieve, staff dedicated to it, their own policies and procedures, and they generally come up with their own financial reports, or managerial accountants track the financial performance of these units independently, and oftentimes this performance is reported to outside stakeholders as well. Okay, now there are numerous types or subcategories, I would say, of responsibility center. A subsidiary unit that's wholly owned or wholly held could be a responsibility center, and this is basically like a mini company in itself. But sometimes responsibility centers have specific organizational functions, and these could be revenue focused. Okay, that is their entire objective, their goal associated with what they do is generation of revenue for the organization. Costs, right? It could be a cost driving organization. So again, performance is based upon accomplishment of goals and tasks while minimizing cost. Profit focus functions, and this carries on both. It brings in revenue and it has a budget and expenses. So the objective there is to eclipse those expenses with revenue to produce profits. And then investment centers in the organization. And these tend to be in control of allocation of funds towards special projects to make certain that the activities that are being funded in the organization produce some level of return on investment or meet the internal rate of return expected by the organization. So these are all examples of, again, responsibility centers. Now, decentralization in itself is the concept that managers are charged with greater autonomy in decision making. That is, decision making is not done centrally at the top of the organization and pushed down. Rather, decision making is allowed at the various operational segments of the organization, thereby giving the manager more autonomy and control over their effectiveness and efficiency in their job or work performance, and in shepherding whatever portion of the organization that they control towards meeting its mission, goals, and objectives. Okay, so the manager individually over their segment would hold responsibility for revenues, expenses, profits, meeting an expected return on investment, budgeting, and meeting the expectations or guidelines of those budgets. So once again, a highly decentralized organization is going to empower the manager in this way. If you're going to place the responsibility on the manager in this way to be accountable for these aspects, then decentralization will be required to allow the manager to make all necessary decisions for the accomplishment of the goals and objectives associated with what they're doing. Okay, so again, in terms of tracking things in the organization, so this approach puts the responsibility on individuals who are in charge of these individual responsibility centers.